I am constantly amazed at how much can be accomplished by one individual person. I think it's amazing when you stop to think of all the innovations that have come, all the changes in society that started with one person. And yet at the same time, I find it strange that we individually often find ourselves feeling very insignificant and feeling like we can't bring about change. So I was thinking about this concept, and I got to thinking about people who are really brave. And I went way back in history, way back in history, to the first person who ate a potato. Now, what a lot of people don't know about potatoes is they're actually part of the nightshade family. So their leaves are toxic to us to eat. I recently learned that potatoes have a fruit, which I did not know. And the potato fruit itself is deadly to us. So I got to thinking about that brave person who was out there. He was hungry, he was scavenging around for something to eat, and he saw these plants and he's like, the leaves will make me sick, the fruit kills me, so what the heck, I think I'll eat the root. Now, it's very possible that our ancient ancestors, they watched the different animals to see what they did and did not eat. But quite frankly, that's not the best test, because what is toxic to animals sometimes isn't to us, and vice versa. So it still took a lot of bravery for that person to try it. And honestly, Thanksgiving dinner just would not be the same if he hadn't. Now, history is filled with lots of pioneers. Pioneers in science and technology, medicine and agriculture. There have been many people throughout our past who have moved their communities and their societies from superstition to faith. And all of these began with a single person, one thought, something that they recognized needed to be changed. And they did not set out to change the world. They simply set out to inspire others. That was their goal. And yet, when we think of all of the scientific and technological advances that have happened, you can't mistake the power of one person, one idea that changes everything. It's real easy to look at the universe. It's easy to, if you're at all into space, and I'm a big sci-fi fan. I really do sit and watch a lot of it. In the vastness of the cosmos, I mean, we haven't even barely touched the surface of recognizing where it is. So it's real easy to picture us on this tiny little blue ball as being nothing but a microscopic speck that does not matter. And a lot of people do. I've seen the quotes, I've read the stories online where people say, what does it matter? We're nothing. Well, you are everything. Each and every one of us has the potential to inspire change. Change locally, change internally, and change globally. Individually, you won't change a thing. And this is where I think some people get that idea of, I'm insignificant. You alone are not going to change and end world hunger. You alone are not going to end poverty. However, you can be an inspiration. You can be that match that starts the fire, that creates the change that globally will be affected. So one person can start that. When I think back to spiritual masters and leaders, some of them that come to mind, obviously, are Jesus, Buddha, Moses, Muhammad. All of these people were matches. They were divinely inspired, but they did not keep that inspiration to themselves. They shared it with others. They shared it to their communities. Had they not had a community to share with, we wouldn't know who they are. So yes, one person can be that inspiration. One person can be that spark that changes absolutely everything. By themselves, those individuals really didn't do anything. And yet they did everything. They changed the way that we think. They provided ideas and inspiration so that we could be more empowered to understand the world around us and possibly to teach us how to be more compassionate, how to be more caring and loving to those around us. If we come a little bit closer into our timeline, people that have made huge differences simply by one action or by sparking a change would be Rosa Parks, Gandhi, Nelson Mandela, and even Susan B. Anthony. All of these people inspired other people to make changes. It's very possible that what each and every one of them did individually, they were not the first to do it. But they found a way to do what they did that inspired people to create a movement that changed. And for their involvement in our lives and in our history, some of them more recent than others, they did make huge changes. And for that, we can be very grateful. Now this week, as we all know, there's been quite a lot that's gone on here in California. And there was one story through all of the horrific stories that really touched me. And remember I said in the beginning that it kind of made what I was going to talk about today a bit more real, I guess, for me. And it's regarding the shooting in Thousand Oaks. And I know there were probably many stories, but this one really stood out to me. There was a gentleman who was in the bar when the shooting began. And he took a chair and he broke out a window and helped many people escape through that window. Now the reason this struck me and it really kind of affected me is the fact that he could have broken the window and gotten out on his own. He could have saved himself. But instead, he was there helping other people to get out of danger and out of harm's way. He kept himself in a position of danger to help others. And when I read this, and I read it many, many times, I started thinking about what would I do in that situation? And honestly, I don't know. I would like to say that I would be that person that would be helping others. But in that single moment, I honestly don't know what I would do. Fortunately, I have never been tested to that point. But I am very grateful that there are people in this world that in that single moment, in that one instance, they are able to step up and be there to help others. Because he didn't just save those lives of the people that he helped. The impact that he had on their lives will be felt for a very long time and for generations to come. Not only for the people who he saved, but for their families. And for any future children and grandchildren, and keep going generations-wise. The accomplishments that both those people who survived and their descendants may bring to us. So one person, one individual probably has impacted thousands, even millions of people simply through one single act of bravery. And I think for that, no matter how difficult the messages are that we're hearing and listening to how horrific it was, I think we need to remember just how beautiful of a contribution that was. And he was not the only one, and I do know that. He's just the one that stood out for the most for me. It's very important to remember that one thought can change your world. And really, that's the world you need to change. It's not the whole planet, but it's your world, and one individual thought can do that. Now, Michael Korda has said that what you hear repeatedly, you will eventually believe. So what you allow yourself to constantly think about, the influences that you listen to, ultimately you will start to believe those unless you make a conscious decision to filter them out and change them. The universe is always going to prove you right. And this is the kicker, and I'm a big fan of the power of thought and the fact of what we think comes back to us. But it's not just the positive. I mean, I can stand here and think that I want a brand new house, and if I believe it's strong enough, I'll get it. But it's the other things that come to us as well. Where we put our attention and what we focus on, the universe is going to give that to us as well. It will prove us right. So if we focus on love and compassion, forgiveness and peace, that's exactly what we're going to start seeing. If, on the other hand, all we focus on is violence, hunger, greed, sickness, and neglect, that's what we're going to see. The universe is going to show that to us and bring it into our lives. So we kind of have a choice. Deepak Chopra says, every time you're tempted to react in the same old way, ask if you want to be a prisoner of the past or a pioneer of the future. You have a choice. You get to make that decision. And we are all on a journey. Every single one of us. And it's important to understand that on this journey, it's never about the other person. Ever. When someone treats you poorly, either intentionally or unintentionally, you have three choices. You can return the favor, which is what a lot of us tend to do. You can turn the other cheek, but still harbor resentment. So you haven't really forgiven them, and you're still holding on to it. So technically, you're no better off. Or you can forgive. And in that single act of forgiveness, you also will endeavor to not do this to somebody else as much as possible. But it really is never about what should or shouldn't be. They shouldn't treat me this way. They should treat me that way. That's not what it's all about. It always comes down to one person. And you are that one person. Your thoughts and your actions and your deeds will always be the spark that creates a change. It will change your life. It will change the life of those you inspire. And from that, it will change the world. Now, I can hear you saying, I see it from all your faces, that there's so much wrong in the world. I hear people saying, I can't solve hunger, war, or homelessness. I can't cure disease. And you're right. Individually, you cannot. But you can be the spark that changes, that creates a movement. And like they say, whenever two or more are gathered within a single thought, change happens. Your lives, each and every one of your lives, touch others. It touches them in ways you will never know. A simple act of kindness can change the course of someone's life dramatically. A couple weeks ago, I was reading about a woman who had gone to a Starbucks to get a cup of coffee. She went through the drive-thru. And she had fully intended to get a cup of coffee and go home and take her life. That was her plan. When she got to Starbucks, the car in front of her had paid for her coffee as one of those, I'm going to pay it forward. That single act of kindness from a stranger that she never knew and that she will never know touched her in ways that she could not even understand. And she went home, and rather than going through with her plans, she started to look at her life and see what she had to be grateful for. She was able to do things for others. She immediately left her home and went over to her neighbor's house and helped her with some chores around the house. And those acts of kindness sort of ballooned. And she ended up writing a letter to Starbucks about this, and that's how it was posted. And it was very moving because, honestly, who would ever thought that a cup of coffee could keep you from taking your life? But it wasn't the cup of coffee, it was the act of kindness. It was the fact that a stranger, somebody that did not even know her, did not know what she was going through, made an effort. And that is when I say that we have the power to change things. We're always talking about random acts of kindness, but I think sometimes we worry too much if it's worth it. And what I'm telling you right now is that single act, that one act of kindness, it's always worth it, always. Because you have no idea the impact that you will have. And remember, you may impact one life, but that life that you just impacted is going to spread out. And each of those lives will impact others. So every time we move forward with that kindness, that gratitude, and that forgiveness, we are changing the world. And we can bring about massive, massive changes. It all starts with one. Now, Edward Everett Hale says this, and I absolutely love it. I am only one, but I am one. I cannot do everything, but I can do something. And I will not let what I cannot do interfere with what I can do. So it comes down to not worrying about what you can't do. Do what you can. Make that conscious decision every single day to be kind, loving. Don't worry about, does it impact others? Because the fact of the matter is, it will. We should not do these acts of kindness. We should not be forgiving and loving to others because we expect that there's going to be a return on it. We know there will be a return. So when we are kind to others, ultimately others are kind to us. And little by little, that ripple may start small. It's like throwing a pebble into a pond. It starts small, but little by little it goes out. And that is what we really need to strive for and to understand. So I am going to close this morning with a poem. I found it online. And the author is unknown. I couldn't find who wrote it. But I think it encapsulates everything that I'm talking about this morning. And it is titled One. One tree can start a forest. One smile can begin a friendship. One hand can lift a soul. One word can frame the goal. One candle can wipe out darkness. One laugh can conquer gloom. One hope can raise your spirits. One touch can show you care. One life can make the difference. Be that one today. And so with that, the divine in me recognizes the divine in you. Peace be with you. Thank you.